Hey everybody, David Alter here for Rink-Wide Toronto, presented by Bodog. Make a play, Canada's choice for free casino games, sports odds, and poker strategies, where tonight the Toronto Maple Leafs play host to the Seattle Kraken at Scotiabank Arena. And William Nylander, who missed practice on Wednesday, is fine. He had a bit of an illness, but he was out there doing a bit of a twirl for the optional skate. Not something he normally does, but because he missed practice, just getting a feel for the ice. Toronto Maple Leaf head coach Sheldon Keefe says he is fine and expected to be in the lineup. And that's a good thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs because William Nylander is the team leader in both goals and points, has really fit in well on that top line with Michael Bunting and Austin Matthews. Mitch Marner, not at all surprised that Nylander is not necessarily knocking on the door, but hanging around with the other top stars in terms of goals and points. Said that he's really been on a heater the last couple of months, has been really impressed with his play, especially toward the end of last season. So not at all surprised that Nylander has been a solid option on that top line. And it's probably a lot of the reason why Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews have remained split up. Normally, at some point in the season, when Sheldon Keefe has pulled the trigger on splitting Matthews and Marner, he's kind of taken whatever opportunity he can to put them back. But that has not happened this season, and we are reaching midway point. So it may not even happen at all. We'll see. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs have played pretty well. They haven't really had to necessarily have to make any sort of changes there. So the Maple Leafs quite content with their top six in terms of the formation and the way it looks. Another thing that's going to remain consistent is the defense. And that is something that you're not going to see any sort of change. I know there was a lot of debate on Twitter when Connor Timmins kind of got pulled out of the lineup and Rasmus Sandin entered in the last game. That maybe that wasn't necessarily the optimal look. People liked Connor Timmins' game. Sheldon Keefe says he owes it to the group to kind of stick to this six as an optimal look. This is exactly what they kind of would have projected if Jake Muzzin wasn't around and everyone was fully healthy. And they've only had one game together. So aside from some back-to-backs that are coming up, you're probably not going to see any changes on the defense there, unless, of course, the play starts to dip. And the last game against the St. Louis Blues was quite chaotic. Sheldon Keefe kind of saying that that had a lot to do with how crazy things were on special teams. And against the Kraken here, we'll be looking to be a little bit more disciplined. Matt Murray will get the start in goal. It is his first ever start against the Kraken. Really, he and Samsonov have not ever played against the Kraken, which I know it's a sophomore franchise, but I still thought that was kind of interesting, given that Samsonov has at least played half the season and each team played each other twice. You would have thought at some point last year, one of those two goalies would have played against the Kraken, but that has not been the case. And so in Matt Murray's case, he'll get his first start against Seattle. A big improvement from the Kraken this year. Remember last year, they were at the bottom of the standings. They didn't really make too many changes, but they've had consistent depth. They don't have premier elite guys, but lines 1 through 4 have been pretty solid. And that's why they are in that playoff position right now, even though they've had a little bit of a dip in terms of their production in December. They are right there. And that's going to create some interesting matchup combinations for the Maple Leafs, who usually kind of hone in on players and do some different things from a deployment standpoint. But against the Kraken, who are solid 1 through 4, that's going to be a bit of a change there. Myself and Rob Wong will have your post-game show as per usual. Make sure you rate and subscribe to Rink-Wide Toronto, presented by Bodog, Canada's home for casino games and sports odds, where everyone goes to play. Rink-Wide Toronto, pre-game, post-game, every game.